All right, so looking in Buzz at our Foundations of Programming class, we look at the grade book. You should have the first three items turned in. Today is the 19th, so you should have everything through September 18th already turned in. I've already done these week's assignments because I was looking at them just to see what this week's entails. So this week you have two assignments, 104 and 1.05. 104 is multiple choice. 105 is actually another thing where you have to do is write some code again and write that the answer those four questions at the end. So let's look at 104 because we're getting a lot more into processing. We did printing strings, right? Strings just a group of characters. Now we're talking about processing strings. So let's go look at lesson 4 here, 1.04 processing strings. All right. So it tells us after this lesson, we'll be able to assign string literals to variables with meaningful names, use concatenation to join string literals. I use concatenation in Microsoft Excel. I like that command. Use slicing or indexing to extract characters from a string literal and use a print statement to display information on the screen. So let's look at what they're talking about. String variables. It's talking about a movie title that they had a Tom Cruise action movie that they were going to call All You Need Is Kill. Then they decided to name it Edge of Tomorrow. But in Python, we could assign a variable, movie title, and we would say, okay, movie title equals All You Need Is Kill, right? But then when they renamed it, we could redefine that. So then movie title would have a new value of Edge of Tomorrow. They put it in theaters. They changed it again to Live, Die, Repeat. And then at times there seemed to be a second movie title that said Live, Die, Repeat, Go, Edge of Tomorrow, where they kind of combined them. So talking about assigning different things in there. So here is the variable movie title equals, and you got to put that, if you're going to assign something to that, like literally those words, you got to put them in quotes, just like a print statement, right? So when you put it in quotes, that tells Python that this string literally what I've typed in here, literally in here's what I want you to assign to that variable. That's what I want movie title to be equal to. So let's look at their activity here they have. So look at this program right here. Hashtag assignment, a statement sample, define main, movie title equal Edge of Tomorrow in main. When I click run program, what do you expect it to run? What do you expect the output to be? You can put that in the chat. Look at this program, and what would you think the output would be when I click the run button? Edge of Tomorrow. Okay, Malachi says it'll say Edge of Tomorrow. Anybody else want to guess? Is that right? Is that wrong? Make a title saying Edge of Tomorrow. All right, let's click run program and see what happens to the output. Nothing. We didn't tell it to output anything. There's no output yet, but notice in the code how the string value Edge of Tomorrow was assigned. So it did assign this value to that variable, but we never told it to print anything. We didn't tell it to output anything. So got to remember, if we run that and we're like, hey, how come it didn't do what I want it to do? We didn't tell it. That's where we got to go back and debug it. Oh, we didn't tell it to print anything. So when we go to next here, now look, it's added print movie title. And movie title is not in quotes. It's just print movie title. So now when we run it, it says Edge of Tomorrow. That's what we were expecting. But we forgot the print statement. So it assigned Edge of Tomorrow to that variable. We just didn't print the variable. So that makes it a little different. Let's look at this. All right. So now we have movie title equals Edge of Tomorrow, print movie title. Then we have movie title equals Live, Die, Repeat, print movie title. When we run this, what are you expecting? Because we've assigned two different values to the same variable and told it to print, told it to print. Now here's the thing. We put the first print statement after the first assignment. So we will actually get this value. And then after we print that, after that output, we've changed it. And then we'll just do the same output again. So here we go, run the program. We get both of them because the first thing it does, and remember, computers do this in order. All right. So the first thing that happens is Edge of Tomorrow gets assigned to movie title, and we print that. So it prints Edge of Tomorrow. Then the next line, we assign Live, Die, Repeat to movie title, and then print that movie title again. So remember, this goes in order, one line at a time. Python is one line at a time. So now let's look here. How about this? Movie title equals Edge of Tomorrow, print movie title. Is this going to work? Are you going to expect Edge of Tomorrow as your output? Because you wanted to print the movie title, Edge of Tomorrow. What is the output going to be? Is it going to work? Joel says no. Why is it not going to work, Joel? What's it going to output? It has the quotes. It'll print movie title. That's correct. Because we literally told it to print what's inside the quotes. When we put quotes, we say literally whatever's in here, that's exactly what I want you to output. So when we run that, that's exactly what it puts out there. Movie title. Good debugging there, because that probably didn't do what we wanted it to do. We probably wanted it to print Edge of Tomorrow, but we put those quotes in there. That created a problem. It just printed the variable name because that's literally what we put inside the quotes. Very good. This one, it says define main, first name equals Augusta, print first name main. And when they want us to write the code to assign the values, middle name and last name, and use Augusta, Ada, Lovelace, and then print statements to display each name. Okay, so let's add that in there. And we can do this we can either put the new variables and prints after this, or we can insert it in the middle, right? So I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to put it after there. Middle name equals Ada. And last name equals Lovelace. And this is Lord Byron's daughter. She was in the 1850s and is credited with writing the first computer program. So it says print first name, and then underneath that we'll say print middle name, and underneath that print last name. Okay, so let's run our program. Augusta, Ada, Lovelace. Perfect. Now we could have spaced those out and then print first name right after we assign the first name, and then print middle name right after we assign the middle name and last name. It doesn't matter because it just goes in order, one line at a time. So I don't know Joe Byron, but Lord Byron was a famous author. So all right, let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about naming variables. There's certain rules you have to follow. All right, there's rules, there's good practices. So these rules help make sure that Python can process our instructions correctly. All right, and then good practices just make it easier. It's not necessarily a rule that Python cares about, but it helps as a programmer when you look at the code and when you look at someone else's code, if we just use some good practices. So let's talk about the do's and don'ts of the rules, what Python's looking for. So begin your variable name with a letter, or you can start with the underscore. You can use the underscore as the first character in your variable. Otherwise, you need to use a letter. This uses M, and this underscore. And after the first letter, then you can put in other digits, other numbers, 0 to 9. So you can use numbers in your variable, just it can't be first. You have to start with an underscore or a letter. All right, here's some do nots. Variable names cannot be any of Python's keywords. And so here's a list of the keywords right here. When you click on this little link, these are all the things you cannot use as a variable name, because these are things that Python uses as commands. So you can't use continue or and or finally or accept or import, non-local, pass, global, any of these. Here's what, 27 keywords that Python will not let you use as a variable. So if you're having an error on there, go back and check this list. Perhaps you're using a keyword that Python needs as a variable, and that's going to cause an error. I don't know if there's a whole lot of these that you would necessarily ever think about using as a variable, but I can see where class might be used as a variable if you're writing some program with stuff like that. Oh, good, Jordan. That's cool. Calculator has Python on it. So that is the no list. Cannot use any of those. And again, this is right here under this hyperlink right there, keywords. Okay, you cannot put spaces in a variable, movie space title. Okay, do not put spaces in there. And variable names may not contain punctuation. Don't put an exclamation mark or any question mark or any kind of punctuation into a variable name. It's only letters and numbers and an underscore, right? And the underscore can be first. And after that, numbers cannot be first. All right, now let's look at the good practices. These are not rules. These are not rules, but these are good practices. Camel case. Okay, that's what they call this practice, camel case. When a variable name contains two or more recognizable words or phrases, like movie title or new car, programmers use the camel case style convention. And here's what camel case means. It means the first letter is lowercase, like in new. That's all lowercase. But then when you have another word in the variable, you capitalize the first letter. Car would be capitalized. Good example, new car. Bad example, new car, all small letters, right? Capitalize every time you come to a new word in your variable. Okay, meaningful name. Always use meaningful names. Like, new car should stand for probably a new car, right? When you look at the variable, you understand what you're assigning to. Don't use, DSA, DAS, just throwing a bunch of random things as your variable, because if your program gets more and more complicated and larger, it starts to get hard to follow. If your variable was new car, okay, that's the new car value right there. Reasonable length. Keep them to a reasonable length. Absolutely. Don't make your variables really huge when they don't have to be. New car is fine. Don't do new car that I want when I finally graduate. That's a real big variable that's going to get a real pain to keep using over and over again. Make it a reasonable, and use nouns. Use nouns in that. New car. Not drive so fast, new car. I know new is actually an adjective, but still, new car is used as a noun, not verbs. Drive is a verb. All right, so drive so fast, new car. No, just use reasonable nouns for the most part, with capitalizing every second, third, fourth word in your variable. Okay, that's just good practices. All right, and I'll let you do this on your own time. We won't go through this class, but here's where you can, little exercise on page 3. Is this a valid name or is this not a valid name for Python? And you drag it to the box. It'll tell you if you are correct or not. Is that a valid or invalid name for Python? So that's something I'll let you guys do. I won't take up class time for that. Let's look at this next page. Okay, string operations. Here's where we talk about concatenating. When you concatenate stuff, you put it together. All right, so two or more strings can be combined to form one big string. Right, it's called concatenation. It's combining two or more string values. All right, and we use the plus symbol, kind of like mathematics. So let's look at this example. Here's a Python guided activity. If we define our main process to assign mother to the variable word1, assign board to the variable word2, and then we print, like no quotes, we're just saying print word1 plus word2. We're going to get motherboard, because it said to concatenate those, put those two strings together and print that. Notice there's no spaces in there because there's no spaces in either one of those variables. Mother and board, there's no spaces. So it's all one word. It combines it all, concatenates it, and puts it together. So let's look at the next thing. So now it says, same thing with word1, word2, but word3, we're assigning to the variable word3, word1 plus word2. We're saying take those two literal strings and combine them, concatenate them into word 3, and then print word 3. We should get the exact same output. We just did it a different way. There you go. Same output, just a different way of programming it. So you have those choices. Let's move here. Same thing, mother, board, word 3 equals word 1 plus word 2. But now look what we've done with the print statement. We've got a literal string, we put quotes. The original words are, and then we end the quote. Okay, so it's going to print exactly everything inside those quotes. Then we're told to concatenate it with word 1. So print word 1. And then we put another quote and more and with spaces in front and behind the and. And then print word 2. And then we added this period in quotes. And then it says the new word is, and then print whatever word 3 is with a period after it. So watch this when we run the program. The original words are mother and board, and the new word is motherboard. Nice. Concatenation, very useful. Being able to output things in a pleasant way that you can read rather than kind of hacking things together. So this will be something good to practice in your concatenation. All right. Let's go on. There's another example there, but I'll let you come back and look at that. Okay, the word motherboard is not very long or complicated, but you may be dealing with a larger string and you just want to pull parts out of it. So let's look at this. This is, what do they call this? An index position. We need the index position if we're going to pull out just part of it. Like we've made the word motherboard. And for that word motherboard, all one word, since we put it together as word 3, each one of the letters is an index number, and Python starts counting with 0. So M is the 0 index, O is the 1, T is the 2, H is the 3. And this says the character in index 0 is, and then it says, here's the command to slice off part of a string, to slice off part of a word. So it says take word 3 and just print the character that is in the 0 index. Look at this. M is in the 0 index because word 3 is mother and board put together as one word. If we change this, let's say we change it to 4. Which letter is the 4? Which one if we change that to 4, which character do we expect it to give us when we hit the output? And it starts counting at 0 because when we said the index 0, it gave us M. All right, Daniel's got it. When we run this, E is the 4th one. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we could go all the way up to 11 there, I guess. Okay. Or is it just going to be 10? No, it's going to be 10. What happens when we do 11? Error. Because there is not 11 characters if you start counting with 0, right? We go to 10. Then it gives us D, which is the last character over there. All right, let's look at this. Then it says 8. Okay, we did an example like that, but this is going to be with the A. Yep. And it put it as a concatenation where it's on the same line. Here's what they want us to write it. Your turn. And I'll let you guys practice this on your own. It says print the initials. Print the initials of the name Augusta Ada Lovelace. So they've already defined the 3 variables with her names. And they want you to put this output. The initials are AAL, period. So see if you can go in there and modify this. This is on page 5. So I'll let you get to this lesson a little bit. See if you can modify that and write a program that says the initials are AAL. And that would be your output. Right now, it just says the initials are. So you've got to be able to do the AAL. So, all right, let me go to the last page here. Next last page. Slicing strings. But that was just pulling out one letter as an index. You can take a number of letters out. Like here it says word 4 is equal to word 3, but start with 1, all right, which is motherboard. That would be the O is that, and go to index 6. But it does not include that. So if the last one is going to print, or the last one is going to assign is the 5th character. So it'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, OTHER. It'll do other when you print that. Let's look at this. So we take from 1 to 6 in motherboard. All it prints is the OTHER. It'll print characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it gets to the 6, it stops. It doesn't grab the 6. It stops at number 6. So that's the stop sign. So it says start with index character 1 and go all the way to 6. But 6 is the stop sign. It does not include it. All right. So it's got some more practice you can do there. Read this, try to predict the output. And then it's going to have your turn again. So on this, they want you to print this. The new name is AUDALACE. Can you do that? Can you get in there and modify this code to just print out that? It's already got the new name is. You've got to be able to add this with a period at the end of it. So there's your challenge for that. Okay, so for lesson 4, that is all of the lesson. And then you have, we'll go look at the assignment real quick. What's that? 5 multiple choice questions. 5 multiple choice questions regarding that lesson. All right. And if you don't do well on the assignments, look, it says I can retake it. I made 100% and it's going to let me retake it. But if you bomb it, go back and see what you missed and then retake it. Okay. All right. Let's look at the lesson 5 because this one's a little more complicated on the assignment. String input lesson. All right. So after this, we're going to be able to use the input function, adding something new, the input function. So we've added slicing out characters and assigning variables, and now we're also doing the input function. So let's look at this. So far your program has been pretty one-sided. Like you write something and print it. But we're going to build some interactivity into it now. So we're going to make it interactive. So there's this command called input. Input. And input is where you prompt the user of the program to input a value for you. That's why you provide a literal string like enter your name or do you like Oreos? Give them some instruction. Anytime you use an input, you need to give them some instructions of what that person is supposed to be inputting. So let's look at this following input statement. This is what your code would look like if you wanted to ask a user for their name. First name equals input, and then we put a parentheses after the input with a literal string, a string literal, right? A string literal in quotes. Hello, what is your name? Question mark. So when you add that to your code, it will make the computer print your prompt to the screen and wait for the user to answer. And then it will assign that to the variable you put right there, first name. So whatever they type is going to be assigned to the variable first name. All right, so let's take a look at right here. First name equals input, enter your name, and then print hello, whatever they type, first name with exclamation marks. So let's run this. And when we do that, look, that pops right up on the screen. Enter your name. Enter your name. Mr. Brock. The output is hello, Mr. Brock. So it just printed whatever first name equaled. I didn't put first name, did I? Run the program. And Darren. Hello, Darren. So there is first name. Now, when we hit next, now it says, read the code, try to predict the output. This says first name equals input into your name, print hello, first name plus that. Let's run the program. Your name. Hello, Derek. See, I don't see any difference between that one and the last one. It's the exact same code. Oh, this says enter Grace at the name. So it wants us to enter Grace. Okay. Hello, Grace. All right, look at the output. Now run again, type your own name. Okay, we've done that. It's a couple of names. All right, now it says, read the code, try to predict the outputs, like run program. Do you know what to type for input? So when I run it, it doesn't tell me what it's looking for. It just said an input. That's not good programming because the user of the program has no idea. What goes here? That's what I'm putting as an input. But type your value is what goes here. So that's what I typed as my input because I'm like, I had no idea what I was supposed to input in there because it wasn't a good input value. We look at the next one. Fix the input statement by including the prompt, what is your favorite animal? So we need to put that inside here, because if I run it right now, it just does this. And I'll say toast. And it says your favorite animal is toast. No, I didn't know what to put. So if I put, quote, what is your favorite animal? Now it asks what my favorite animal is. Hippo. Favorite animal is hippo. Okay. And then read this code. What is your favorite animal? Favorite animal is you'll see an error because fave animals, what it says right here, but we didn't define that anywhere. See, we run that. What's your favorite animal? Hippo. Error. Told us to print fave animal, but we never defined it. We didn't define that in our input, right? Because we can go back. Some variable equals input. So it needed to say fave animal equals. All right, let's move on because I want to get to this pseudocode. All right, pseudocode. This is important. We'll get more into pseudocode. Next week, I want to go over a lot of pseudocode with you, but we'll do that next week. Now that we're getting into more complex coding like input statements, time to talk about pseudocode. It's an outline of your code that goes through the steps individually in an easy to understand human language. Pseudocode is not necessarily a programming language. Pseudocode is just general programming language. It's not Python, it's not BASIC, it's not C++, it's not, anything like that. It's just pseudocode that you can write a program generically without it being able to run on any specific language. As you begin to write longer code, you'll want to create a plan so you don't get lost. So you can do this in pseudocode and then write it specifically for the language that you're putting the program in. So you put it in plain old English to help the structure of code you will write. We call it pseudocode, which means false or fake code. So look at this code here. Pseudocode, input, the name of the sandwich, the type of bread, the meat and toppings. Output, display a message with the sandwich details, including the name, bread, meat, and toppings. So that's not anything that Python's going to be able to process. You're just writing a plan in pseudocode. Just telling yourself pseudocode, I want to do an input in Python, and I want to input these 4 things, and then I want to put an output, and I want to display these things. So use everyday words, not Python code. So pseudocode will look a little different. So we'll go over more of that next week. Let's see. Take a look at the following example and see tips on it. So the program purpose is to write a program to take someone's sandwich order. They should provide details about the sandwich, including the name and what's on it. And after it's taken, it should be repeated back. So pseudocode. Input, ask the user for the name of the sandwich, the type of bread, the meat, and the toppings. And then the output will be print a message that gives them the name, the bread, the meat, and the toppings. Repeat the order back to them. So that's our pseudocode. And to actually write that, follow instructions. What do we have down here? The goal is to write a program that asks the user to answer a joke and then respond to that. What computers like to eat. Oh. So it says practicing pseudocode. Ready to try your hand at pseudocode. So the pseudocode for this program could look like input, ask the user what computers like to eat. Output, display 2 messages. One will state the user's guess and the other will give the correct answer. All right. So that would be pseudocode for this actual code that's written on there. And then they got next. All right, so this one says, write a program that asks the user to answer a joke and repeat the user's response and share the correct answer. Your turn to convert pseudocode to programming code. So use the following pseudocode. The input is ask the user what part of the program does the spider use. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to write as actual Python code. And then display 2 messages. One that will give the user's guess, and another gives the correct answer, which is webcam. So for the previous slides, this is your chance to practice pseudocode to actual code. All right, so look at those examples there. So let me get to the last page because you need to know what you're doing here. For the assignment, if you just go to the assignment, let's just go to the assignment for 1.05. All it has is right here, part 1, write a program to simulate a chatbot conversation. Use these guidelines. Insert your pseudocode. Part 2 is actually write the code and then answer those PMRs, that post-mortem review. So it's got it all right here. You can copy all of this and paste it into a Google Doc if you like. This is also, it's good to look right here at the end of the lesson because this assignment comes from the end of the lesson. We've added it right there, back to page 4. Here's the same thing, the assignment template. See, there it is. Save and print right here. If you want to just save it to a Google Doc right here, you can do that. But here's what it is. Write a program to simulate a chatbot conversation. So use the following guidelines. Decide on an interactive conversation someone could have a computer. So you get to decide what the conversation is. Your program should include at least 3 interactive prompts, right? That's 3 input statements where the user that runs the program has to enter 3 different things at least during your program. Input from the user should be assigned to variables and used throughout the conversation. And at least once you have to use the indexing or slicing technique where you just take out a character or a few characters from the input and display that. Use concatenation to join string literals and string values, and then write a pseudocode for the program, right? You'll say, okay, my program, I'm going to, input, and this is when we'll have them input, output, this is when I output, So you have to put your pseudocode here. You have to write the pseudocode and include that in what you turn in. That's part 1. You're going to figure out what you're going to do, and you're going to write the pseudocode. Now, part 2 is you're going to actually write the code for the program to actually do what your pseudocode said you wanted to do. Using Python, use comments. You should have a heading at the top that has your name, date, and a short description of your program, right? Because we do that top of our program. So if I just had all the programs printed out, I would know which one's yours. Use meaningful names for all your variables, and then follow the Python conventions regarding indentation and white space. All right, and then you show an example of the output. All right, the output of your program should resemble the following screenshot. So insert a copy of your code here. You insert your pseudocode above, and then you put your actual code here. And then complete the post-mortem review again, the same 4 questions. All right. So you have to do all of this. You got to write the pseudocode, write the code, and the PMR, and include all of that with what you turn in. Now, how are you graded? That's right here also. Here is the rubric. Here's the rubric for your assignment. Again, this is a 100-point assignment. All right, so 10 points of it are based on having your name and date in the comments. The comments explain the purpose of the program, and the indentation. That's 10 points. Did you put the comments with your name and date and the purpose of the program? And did you indent things properly? That's 10 points of your 100. Up to 40 points is that it has all of these elements. The Python code clearly reflects the pseudocode. So the program matches what you said you were going to do in your pseudocode. You use meaningful variable names, right? Meaningful variable names. You had at least 3 interactive prompts. You used concatenation to put some values together, and you use slicing or indexing to incorporate words or letters into your output. All right, so that's worth 40 points that you have all of those elements in your program. 30 points, no syntax errors, the program runs without errors, and it produces what you expect it to produce. So when I take your code and I paste it in, copy and paste, it runs perfectly and produces what you said it would produce. That's 30 points. And then 20 points is the post-mortem review. So the first post-mortem review is worth 20 points of the 100-point assignment. Okay. So that is the second assignment this week. The first one's just 5 multiple choice questions. The second one is you need to write this program, write the pseudocode, write the program, do the PMR. All right. Any questions on that? Everyone understand what we got this week? All right. Well, if you don't have any questions, enjoy your week. We'll see you later.